Good evening, everybody. You are here with the Lumberjack Landlord, still feeling better than I deserve. Super excited to be with you guys this evening. I've been waiting till the last minute to actually launch live streams because of the sickness going around the kids and myself. Don't want to put something up and then have to cancel it. So yeah, you guys always keep your eyes peeled, waiting for the great ringing of the bell to say, hey, Lumberjack's doing his live stream. Come check it out. Almost always here, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. There's Hyder, and the crew is starting to show up. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about, number one, first and foremost, is, I decided to make this a series of 2025 elite series real estate investment strategy stuff. And I think that what's really important is as we look to get more out of 2025 than we've ever gotten out of a year before, I think it's important some of these core different types of strategies that I want to spend time kind of talking to you guys about. So last week was, something that I did differently in my business. Can you tell I was wearing a hat right before I got on? I actually threw it in disgust when the Bruins lost. I gave up a goal to Winnipeg. But I digress. So the strategy that we gave you guys last week was, how do you do something different this year that creates for you more opportunities? What's interesting is it's exactly as I told you last week. 97% of people aren't going to do this thing. What's really interesting to me is that you guys actually followed suit. 97% of you did on the views that we got, did absolutely nothing. You did absolutely nothing. You didn't reach out to the wholesaler. You didn't ask her, or the VA company, to have a conversation with her about what are my options for getting somebody to start calling in my territory, start calling for the type of deals that I want. 99% of you plus didn't even reach out. Guys, I'm going to do this series whether you think you need it or not. And you guys do what you see as fit. But I am bringing heat for 4 weeks. I am going to share with you guys 4 specific and unique strategies that I think you should be adopting to make your 2025 the best year ever. So the first one was doing something different, which is wholesaling. She teaches and trains wholesalers. Her name is Jen. If you don't know that video, it was the only video aside from live streams that I posted on my channel in almost 2 years. Yeah. So Wealth Building Journey, there's a video on there. You'll see it's Jennifer and myself. You'll see it in the videos that I posted to the channel. But guys, this is a way that I have created over 80 opportunities in my business that will close over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. I never would have contacted any of these people. I never would have gotten their name. I never would have had their circumstances. I never would have had any of those things had I not contracted with her. Her entry-level price for the Lumberjack Landlord crew is $540. That's to get a qualified wholesaler calling into your territory 10 hours a week. Oh my word. Why are you guys not taking advantage of this? You guys got to check it out. If you want to grow this year, that's step 1. Step 2, and we'll talk about it, but the course, obviously, once you start getting these leads in, I'm telling you and talking to you about how to close them, but also once you get that deal, how to move on. Now, let's say you have 0 rentals, boom, VA wholesaler. Let's say you have 10 rentals, boom, VA wholesaler. Let's say you have 100, boom, VA, 153, boom, VA wholesaler. Why? Because I want to know what other opportunities are out there, because it's better than what's on MLS. It's better than these crappy off-market deals people keep on bringing me. And it's better than the deals that wholesalers are bringing me. The reason I call her wholesaler VA is because she's creating for us and for me, she's creating for me wholesale opportunities. If you're an agent, you should be using her to create opportunities for you. This is what I'm talking about. So anyway, we'll cover a little bit more. But again, what I want to talk to you guys about today is something that I don't think enough people talk about. Everybody has, their buy box. Hopefully you guys have a rent box and really understand what that looks like. But I think the mistake that people make in these shifting types of economies and shifting types of markets is that they only have one strategy that works. That's going to be a problem for you. If you only have one strategy that works, and if following that path is the only way that you make money in that deal, it's probably not as good of a deal as you'd hoped. It just isn't. Excuse me. Whew. So, what I want to encourage you guys to do is I want you guys to start looking at deals with multiple exits. This comes from really one main area, and I'm going to share with you a deal that I did. The reason I'm sharing with you the deal is because I would do it slightly differently. I don't know that I made necessarily any mistakes, but you guys can call me out if you think I made a mistake. But this was a deal that I talked to you guys about 2 years ago, 50-40-10. So for those of you who don't remember what a 50-40-10 is, it's 50%. We basically get a bank to come alongside of us. We get the bank to put 50% of the deal up because they want to be that first bank wants to be the majority. And the reason that they find value in that is because they can start foreclosure process. They're the ones that are the leader. The other piece and component to this is that if they're getting into a deal for only 50% the value and they're in first, think of it this way. There's much less risk in a deal for them like that than it is if they're 90%, 95%, 97% into a deal. There's a lot more risk for them when they're that big into a deal. So for mine, I actually get to put them in first position at 50%, which is the best of all worlds. You always are in first position and you're in there for all of the shooting match at only 50%. That's a pretty big win for the bank, right? If they're going to have to move forward and proceed, they're only 50% capital at risk. That usually allows you to get a lower down payment. So the 40, where's the 40 come from? Well, you have to do this with people with deals that actually have some equity in their house. Frankly speaking, 40% equity in your house, it used to be that would take 10 or 12 years to see that actually be created. But in the last 4 years, in many cases, that's also been created for those people, 40% equity. Now, what I mean by 50-40-10 is the first bank takes 50. You then take 40% and have that be a seller note. So the seller has to be willing to do this. But very often when you're finding these types of distressed assets, very often they are willing to take on a 40% note. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. The challenge now today is that rates are in the sevens. When I did this deal back when, I was doing it with a DSCR vendor. So guess what? Rates were in the sevens. Real rates were in the fives, but no bank wanted to do a 50-40-10. The only thing that they would do is basically 70% loan to value. But the second, they wouldn't let be bigger than a certain size. So what I would tell you is getting the bank on there for the first 50, that was a DSCR lender at 7%. The problem was I couldn't make the numbers work. I couldn't make the numbers work based on the fact that I knew that I could only get so much rent. So because I could only get so much rent, I had to work on that seller note and make sure that that seller note was far less expensive than the first. It's what's called creating a blended rate. So this blended rate was 7% on the first note. It was 2.5% on the second note. Now, everyone's like, oh, I could never get anybody to sign up for 2.5%. Sure you could. Of course you can. You just have to show them the math. Don't be deceptive. Show them the math. Say, if I got the first bank in there at 7 and I've got you in there at 2.5, that basically gives me a blended rate of about 5. And the reason it's 5 is because there was a difference of how much money was in each piece, 50, 40, 10. What this does is it lets you as an investor get into a deal for 10%, non-owner occupied, 10% down, and I'm not paying some massive premium. I'm into the deal for only 10%. In this particular case, it was about a $300,000 house. I was in for about 30 grand. My normal purchasing, my normal acquisition, that would cost me 90 grand to get in that house. And guess what? It's a single family house. I would never do it because the numbers just weren't there. In this particular case, I was able to buy this property out of foreclosure. I was able to take the people that lived there existing that just said, we had some problems for a couple of years. I looked at all their finances and I said, yeah, I get it. You did have some problems for a few years. That's why you got so far behind. You could never catch up. So I'm actually going to do a 10-year lease back, 10 years. And I didn't want to fight every single year about price increases. I didn't want to fight every year about price increases. So the way that I did that was I actually included what the price increase was going to be. Hold on one quick second. So looking at this deal, 7% on the first, 2.5% on the second, a blended rate of basically about 5. But in looking at this type of a blended deal, and I'm 10% down on the deal. Now, the reason that I set this up was, number one, I needed the payment to be low enough so what they could afford to pay less rent. And that's what I told them. I said, I need you to be able to cover about 25% increase. Hold on one second. You love it when there's something that comes up that you actually have to handle when you're during a live stream. That's what happens when you're an operator. So we get this deal done 50%, 40%, 10%. But again, I get the debt at 2.5%. And here's what I'm setting myself up for. Let's just say that they pay their rent, they pay their 4.5% increase every single year. 10 years later, I've done pretty well on this property. It's not a home run, but it's probably a double. It's probably a double. So what I'm looking at, Kim Bishop's in New Hampshire. Oh my goodness gracious, Kim. Well, that sounds like fun. But when we're looking at this type of a deal at 2.5% and the 7% down, now I've got my blended rate. Sophie Elaine. Sophie's really sick and so she might fall asleep during this. So we can't start teasing her in the chat, but she's awesome. She's going to be on soon too, talking about banking stuff and private lenders. That's another part of a big part of 2025 that I want you guys to just to look at. But in this deal at 2.5%, I'm setting myself up to make the number palatable for the homeowner and for the renter. I've got a good lease in place. And it takes just as much to break a 10-year lease as it does a 1-year lease. Doesn't matter, right? So as we're going through that process, as we're looking at things, what we say is this 2.5% now is actually an asset. Why? Because for me, it's very, very, very inexpensive debt that sure I could use over and over again. But having that 2.5% debt, I know that I can sell that, or I can get them to sell that at any time. And if they try and back out of the deal, if they try and not pay rent, what am I going to do? I can lien that. Now, some things about that piece first. You must make yourself right of first refusal on that note. Number one. The one area that I would tighten up that I think that I don't necessarily know that I made a mistake, but that I would like to have expected better of myself. And so maybe it was a mistake, but you guys can hold me accountable. I think what's really impressive, or really important, not impressive, important, is that I should have put in the note, if you're ever more than $5,000 behind in rent, that will force the sale of the note. That's what I should have done. I didn't have that language in there. I can promise you that language will be in there moving forward. Maybe the number isn't 5,000, maybe it's more, but I needed to take different steps because they were behind on rent. They did have the note. I was having to go through the process of paying an attorney to lien the note. And I think that just could have been done cleaner. I think it could have been done more clean. Now, this 2.5% debt, we're looking at this asset. I've already given them the 10% down on the house. They've not been paying their debt. I end up having to say, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. You guys got to catch up. And if not, I'm going to file eviction. So I did. I filed eviction. But I also filed at the same time. I file eviction over here. And over here, I file a superior court case, basically to put a lien on the note, even though I have right of first refusal. I just wanted to double stamp and triple stamp. But I wanted to make sure that they couldn't sell it. And if they did try and sell it, that I had the right of first refusal on whatever number they get offered. That's a component that I had built into the deal. I think that was pretty smart. So we're in the position now where they haven't paid. They owe me a big, huge fat balance, tens of thousands of dollars in back rent, thousands and thousands of dollars in late fees. And I'm looking at the deal and I'm saying, okay, but who's going to buy 2.5% debt? Here's the beauty of this. Debt is still 5, 6, 7%, right? Anybody that's investing and putting money into something where they're going to get a return, they're going to want to see 5, 6, 7, 8%, depending on what their criteria is. So I basically have the note evaluated, and I look to a couple of mathematicians and people that price bonds. They look at the asset and they basically say, okay, this is pretty interesting. It's $115,000 face value note. However, at 2.5%, it is not worth $115,000. It's only worth $75,000. Now, I don't question the mathematicians, but I look at it and I say, it's obviously got to be a vastly reduced rate. I came up with, it's probably worth $75,000-$80,000. When they came back to me, they were like, hey, $75,000-$80,000. We had someone come in at 75, someone come in at 79, someone come in at, I think, like 77 or 78. So it was like right in this $5,000 range of what people believed that was going to be worth. So what was interesting is as we're negotiating with it, and this is part of, I've been asked by Chris Culp to do a sales training class for you of how we teach our reps to sell, or how I would teach reps to sell. We will actually be doing that in a class in the boot camp, and then we will make that lesson available to the entire course. And that is basically my 27 years of experience. So what's very interesting is how we're actually looking at this process. I'm sitting down in court in the meeting room before we go out there. We asked to have a meeting with the defendant, and I was the plaintiff. And we said, you know what, let's have a quick conversation about this. So we do. We have a quick conversation with them. And they're up in arms about it. And they're just like, nope, I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. Nope, I'm not leaving. I was like, but you're going to leave. It's an eviction. You don't really have a choice. They're not asking your opinion of if you should or if you could or if you will. It's going to be, this is the way it is. This is the law, and you're going to get out. And so I didn't want to put an eviction on these people record. They're very nice people. They just don't have the means to stay in this house. So longer story shorter, that's when we look at, we're evaluating, let the defendant talk. If you let them talk, they're going to tell you what they want. Now, I knew from that brief 5-minute conversation that the most important thing to them was staying in that house. That was by far the most important thing. The math beyond bonds can be very complicated. The convexity on bonds can be very painful. It was very painful, Lars, and that's why I had somebody who had a PhD in mathematics actually figure out the math. And then the other person that rated it was Goldman Sachs. And I'm not a Goldman Sachs client. I have a friend that works at Goldman Sachs. Actually, it's a friend of a friend's. But that person at Goldman Sachs was one of the other ones that actually rated the value of the debt. So anyway, we'll jump back into it. So as I'm looking at this process, as I'm talking to the person, I know that the most important thing to them is one thing and one thing only. They want to stay in the house. That's what's most important to them. They're not talking about the money. They say, yeah, if I had it, I'd pay it to you, but I don't. Oh, well, if I had the money, I'd be driving a Bugatti, but I don't, so I don't. That's kind of the way it goes. So anyway, we finish off. We have the conversation. We go into the courtroom. It's open and shut. I'm going to get the eviction. They can do something called a stay. They can say, well, we're going to give you the eviction, but not for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. The judge has the discretion to give a stay up to 90 days. Now, for me, it didn't really matter much anyway, because I was like, it doesn't matter. They haven't been paying anyway. And we're just going to take that and deduct it off the note anyway when we get into the Superior Court case. So I basically said, we get out, and I said, hey, I'm going to give my attorney, good friend of mine. I was like, I need you there because you're representing me in the Superior Court case. We have the conversation. When we have the conversation with the attorney, he says, give me a few minutes to talk to him. They come back and they say, hey, is your previous offer still available? And I said, which one? Because I made a couple. He said, would you be willing to let them stay in the house? Because I knew that that's what they wanted. I knew in his heart of hearts, I knew that's what he wanted. And he said, would you be willing to let them stay in the house? if we were able to work something out. I said, yes. I said, but I don't trust them to pay me. And I said, so here's what's going to have to happen. I said, I want the note wiped out, and I will give them an additional 15 months in the house. But I have a built-in writ of possession, i.e. I can go literally right to the sheriff's office, and I can say, here's my writ of possession. They're still there. They will go and they will serve it, and they will get them out, and then they have 7 days. Then they're just still a tenant. So I built that into the contract. I got the note for $115,000 forgiven at a valuation of only $75,000. I recovered all of my late fees. I recovered all of the back rent. I recovered all of the penalties, all of the fees, and I only had to give them 15 months more of rent. So the reason why we want to talk about deals like this is because I went into it with understanding, hey, they're going to be a tenant for 10 years and they're going to pay me that. But that wasn't the only idea that I had. I had two other ideas. One was, hey, at least they own the note on this thing. If they stop paying, I can lien the note and I'll still get paid that way. Now, you don't want to do something like that on only one deal if it's your first deal. And the reason why is because you're going to have some carry there. I'm still been paying the mortgage every single month. I've still been paying that note every single month. So you got to be able to have that level of carry. And yeah, that's why this is an elite series. And so the idea is that now I've cleared their debt. I got every penny of my thousands of dollars of late fees, and I gave them 15 more months in the house. Now in 15 months, I get my better possession. If they want to fight me, then they can, but it's an open and shut case. And we're actually able to move on. So what's really exciting is that deed, that change was actually recorded just in the last few days. We are now past this. We are now into the next deal. But this deal, even though it didn't go as planned, I still made a ton of money on this deal. Effectively, I made $40,000 on this deal, not including appreciation, just based on what I was able to get that debt sold for. And the next 15 months are going to, quite frankly, be rather straightforward. Now, in the next 15 months, what's going to happen with single families? I don't know. Maybe they're up 10%. Maybe they're down 10%. I have no idea. But the key is that I'm still going to then at that point be able to fix up that asset. I did my rent box and I looked at it and I'm like, actually, I can rent this for $2,600 or $2,700. Now, without the second mortgage on this, guess what? Now my monthly nut is only about $1,400. I can actually rent this and make $1,200 on a single family house. However, that's going to have debt on it of about $135,000. The difference will be that I can probably sell it for $350 in a year. And that's about what it's worth now. But I could sell it for $350 in a year and walk with well over almost $200,000 after fees. Anyway, I think this is a pretty powerful way. This is definitely an elite series conversation, but the idea here is the same. At every single one of your deals, you should be looking at, what does it do to cash flow? What's my cash flow look like? What if I have to sell? What if people stop paying? How much reserves do I have? You need to have multiple off ramps on every single deal. Maybe I can turn it into an MTR. Maybe I can turn it into an STR. Maybe I can turn one unit into an STR and then keep the other twos long terms. This gives you the ability to have flexibility in all of your deals. But this is something you should be thinking about when you're putting the deal together, not when the deal is blown up and now you're looking for a life preserver of how to save yourself or save your deal. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Let's jump in and start handling some of your questions. I'm so excited to have my good buddy Sophie here tonight. I know she's been super under the weather, and no matter what I send her, she still responds back with one word. And that's what makes it funny. And if you guys are trying to change the way that you're investing and really win this year, watch this Elite series. It's got two more parts to it. There was the one part where it was Jen Stewart talking about VAs and actually contracting with her for literally a few $100 a month to be able to create a cold calling campaign for where you buy to find you your next deal that you then don't have competition in. I don't know what idea could be any better. Hyder, good evening. Wealth Building Journey, good to see you again there, Chester. I know you were gone last week. Excited to have you back. Angel, good to see you, sir. Olariagai, Frank, excited to see many of you. BuzzTune, excited to see you guys at the One Rental at a Time event next 2 weeks from now in Las Vegas. Beautiful Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas, and Las Vegas loves me. Robert Farinelli, how are you, sir? Love the title, Elite Series Wealth Building Journey. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, sir. Jason Calasabetta, good evening, Matt and everyone. Yes, sir, you as well. Who is a VA agent? So it was Jen Stewart. Watch that video, guys. I told you, I said 97 to 98% of people are not going to do these steps to make their year the best year it could be. I created, or Jennifer's team created for me, based on the contract that I had with them, over 80 qualified leads. 80. That gives me a pretty nice pipeline at the top. And how many shake out to the bottom? I don't know. Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 15? How long do you track them for? I can tell you this, every 60 to 90 days, I'm going to give them a quick buzz. Hey, we spoke back, blah, blah, blah. Just wanted to find out, if anything has changed for you, if you'd be willing to have a discussion and see if we can put together something that fits for the both of us. Jason, Wealth Building Journey. Oh, yeah, sorry. Flavio Macias, good evening from Grandview, Washington. Good evening, Flavio. Jack Stewart is here. Well, then let the party begin. Robert Farinelli, Matt, I already reached out to her in boot camp. Oh, yeah, that's right. Plus, now that I am finally under contract for my deal, I need to figure out where I am financially after I close. Absolutely. But Robert did the right thing. Reach out, figure it out, have a conversation, understand how it's going to impact your business, and then make a plan. It might not be something that you want to budget for. It might be something you want to budget for. But I can tell you, whether you get 0, 10, or 100 deals, it doesn't matter. This is a new avenue that I've tried that I'm absolutely sold on. And more importantly, I'm sold on it because of who I contracted with to do the work. Jen has 15,000 hours on the phone closing wholesale deals. She's trained all of her people. Guess what? That means that they now have her experience of 15,000 hours plus their own personal experience. They are excellent and they are reasonably priced. And to get your foot in the door for like $500 for a month's worth of work, I don't know that you can get any better. Now, it gets you a portion of a resource, but nonetheless, you're getting some pretty quality people. I can tell you the quality of the people is spectacular. Financial Firefighter. Hey, Mark. Good to see you, sir. Chris Colt. Hey, Matt. Top of the morning to you. Chris. I know that because you and I work in tech and with venture funds that sometimes this feels like morning. So good evening to you. Kim Bishop, as I said, home for the weekend. Good to have you home, Kim. I knew the state felt warmer and more bubbly. Sophie Elaine, I'm here. See, there's her first response to me, and it is 2 words. I'm just teasing, Sophie. Jack Stewart, Matt, I really liked the video the other day you made with Jennifer. Yeah, Jen's awesome. She just is. She just is. I tell you, every single time I meet another person that's a lead at what they do, I share them with you. But only after I've tried them myself. I want to know that they're not just a bunch of talk. I want to know that they're actually doers. And she's a doer. And I can tell you that because her and her team, 80 different leads, 80 that I'm able to follow up on and try and create my business. You can't ask for anything better. Sophie ANH. Wealth Building Journey. That's genius, Matt. I don't disagree. It was fantastic. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. Wealth Building Journey. This is why it's called the Elite Series. Exactly right. All-Nighter Hider. I'm going to share a link to the guy that knows HOA covenants and how to use them as a tool. I'd love to get him on the show. Yeah, you let me know. I'm happy to interview him. I admittedly, I put guys through the ringer before I put anybody on my show. And the reason for that is because I want them to know that they're adding value, that they're not just pitching your product. And in many cases, I want to know and have had the experience that they've had or have them walk me through exactly what that perk is. You guys know that I avoid HOAs like the plague. Some areas, that's all that's available. I would never touch an HOA again. Touched one, will never touch again. Robert Viardinelli, on a serious question, insurance problem. Apparently Vermont Mutual and Andover don't insure rentals rented out to college students. So is State Farm also out of the picture? Who is next in line? Why were they asking if it's a college student? What's it their business? I don't tell them who the tenants are. I don't talk to insurance companies about who my tenants are ever, because it's none of their business. They're there to insure the asset. That's it. Who would be next in line? I would say a broker would be next in line. That's who I would have next in line. I don't know that there's a company that I would say, yeah, try this company. I would just try a broker that represents 8 or 10 companies, tell them the scenario and see if they can get them insured. They can't discriminate. They can't not insure you because it's a college. Like what they're thinking is frat house, I think. And that's different. You're not running a frat house. So I would be having the conversation with a broker to fix whatever you said, because what you said gives off and portrays it's something that it's not. It's not a frat house. It's not for only college kids. It's a free market rental unit. Period. End of story. Sophie Elaine, are we allowed to ask a question? Of course you're allowed to ask. Sophie, you're funny. I have a 20-year-old gas water heater. There's a big banging sound in it every time it fills up. Should I replace it or should I flush it first? I mean, in all honesty, what I would do is I would just have it serviced. I would have it serviced. It might be something with the rods. It might be something. It could be, some filter needs to be cleaned. I don't play with gas ever myself because too easily it can go boom, or you have a liability and you have a leak. So anytime I have anything up with a gas appliance, I have it serviced. We take a look at it. And if it's something like relighting the pilot light or something like that, or just checking on the venting that goes into the chimney or little things like that, yeah, we're good. Outside of that, it's gas. It's a liability if I check it, or if I do anything to it. So I just want to transfer that liability over for $150 to some sort of a plumber that has a gas license. That's what I want to do. Ace of coin. I'll take a look at it. Thanks, Hyder. Yes. Par value, discount, and premiums. Back to bond accounting class. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know it's the worst. That's why I was just trying to figure out, hey, if somebody's getting this level of return, what would they expect to pay for something like that? And so I was just completely thumb in the air number, and trying to piece it together. So when I actually got to people that do bonds, when I actually got to somebody that has a master's or maybe even a PhD, I think it's a PhD actually in mathematics, I knew that they could figure that out. And so they basically just kind of looked at markets, and then they looked at bonds. They looked at how those calculated, and we were able to come up with the number we came up with. Summertime Santa, going to be vetting CPAs this year. Have any tips or questions to be asked? The first thing I would do is I would talk to Bob Langworthy at Maine Bean Counters. I would see if he's expanding his practice this year. Otherwise, the other thing that I would do, I think the most important thing to me now are these top 3 questions. Here are the top 3 questions I would ask vetting a CPA. Number 1, are you an EA? That's something that's very important to me. EA stands for enrolled agent. It means that if I ever get audited, that they can represent me in that audit. I don't want to have to pay for a CPA and a lawyer to get together, have a bunch of conversations, differ on opinions, because one guy's a tax lawyer and one guy's a CPA. I'm not interested in that. I want the slow is smooth and smooth is fast model. How do you get that? You get the same guy doing the job of both people, which is an EA and a CPA. Make sure that you're finding an EA and CPA. Number 2, just as important, I want to know that they actually own rental properties themselves. Yep, that they own rentals themselves. I want to know that they've owned rentals themselves, because people will keep an eye, if nothing for self-preservation. People will keep an eye on those, on what the rules are and what's changed, and benefits of policy and all this other stuff. They'll keep an eye on that. That's really, really important. So I would be looking for somebody, A, that's a CPA and an EA, 2, owns rental properties themselves, and 3, get out of the defensive position when it comes to tax and tax planning. You need to be planning. What does planning mean? Planning means you're actually having a conversation with this EA, CPA that owns rental properties, and you're talking to them about what they do and what they're doing. And I want to have a quarterly call with you. I want to have a quarterly call where we go through this stuff together. And the reason that we need to go through this stuff together is because I want to know, do I need to be spending more? Do I need to be spending less? Are there certain strategies that I need to be taking advantage of? And you as a CPA, generally speaking, knowing where my numbers are, you're going to be able to give me proper guidance. This is the piece that's critical. I believe far too many people are reactive and they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting a big refund. Oh no, I owe a ton of money. That shouldn't be a surprise. I want to know what that is kind of going into the tax year. Now, this year, I don't have my W-2. I still have some offset of some taxes. However, I did some 1031s, so I don't owe anything on that. Excuse me. So I'm in a good position this year where I still think I'll get a refund. Yep. Simple questions. Ask them if they know what a real estate professional is. Ask them if they know what a cost segregation study is. If they don't know the answers to those questions, if they can't answer you on the fly and speak with authority, next. Now, what you're looking for there, in all honesty, Summertime Santa, is hard to find. But when you find it, they're worth their weight in gold. Then you can talk about, if you really care about it that much, you can talk about how much all that's going to cost. Some people that matters a lot, and some people that matters a little. To me, mostly it matters less because of how important the role is. Lars Nielsen, the math beyond bonds can be very complicated. Yep, the convexity on bonds can be very painful. Very much so, and that's why I had somebody with a mathematics PhD take care of it. Great question there, Wealth Building Journey. See, he's taken the course 5 times. Does your CPA own any rentals? That's the big question. All-nighter, Sophie, it may need an expansion tank. Yep. Is it old? They tend to go out right around the time the warranty ends. True. She said it was 20 years old. That thing is ancient. That thing, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that thing could be well on its way out. The fact you got 20 years out of it is crazy. Crazy. Deconstructing Dreams, a financial journey. Good to see you back. Howdy from Reno, Nevada. I love Nevada. I've always loved Vegas, but Reno, isn't that the biggest little city in the world? Sophie Lane, all-nighter. I'm not sure if it's above my skill set. All the plumbers said to replace it, but I watched a YouTube video on how to flush it, but it still stays very hot. It's like 20 years old. Yeah, dude, you got to replace it. Sophie, stop being so cheap. You got to replace that thing, kid. Lars Nielsen, I fully understand. Angel R, how they come up with the money to pay the back rent? The note. I took the rent that they owed and I deducted it from the agreed value of the note. So that $75,000, which was the agreed value, they owed with penalties and fees and rents and blah, blah, blah. It was tens of thousands of dollars. They didn't even challenge me on that, nor should they have. My math was right. The math, I showed multiple sources, but we just took it off of the value, the agreed value of the note. That's why now the note, which was $115,000, they have agreed that the note is paid in full, and I have agreed to give them 15 months more in the house. That's simple. So 15 months, now that entire $115,000 debt covers all of their fees, penalties, back rent, the next 15 months in rent, and attorney's fees, and that depreciated value covers everything. So now I'm done. I actually have that note. They wrote paid in full. It's been filed with the Registry of Deeds. And so now it's gone. It's gone. I now only owe the 50 part of the 40/10. I already paid the 10. The 40 was just wiped out. Now I only owe the percentage or a part of the 50 that's still remaining after 2.5 years of payments. Oh man, that's good. That's just good. That's good. Jim Van Tressel, be careful flushing such an old water heater. It can cause leaks, and you should probably replace the water heater. I agree, Jim. Well said. Sophie, from what I'm reading, it sounds like a replacement to me. I do recommend diagnosing the bang bang, though, rather than hoping it goes away. Yes, I still say you got to replace it. It's 20 years old. That thing's going to start leaking. And when hot water heaters leak, they get very, very expensive. Probably no extension tape. Yeah, I doubt there's any expansion tank on that thing being so old. I agree. Lars, I had fun arguing with some idiot on Twitter. I love that. With telling me that a 50 to 80% drop in real estate is conservative. Oh dear God. Maybe I should offer to buy his house with only a 25% discount on his house now. So that's what I started answering on all of these idiots that were like, oh my word, Section 8, they're going to shut Section 8 down. They're going to shut Section 8 down. So I've said, I completely agree. This is a very big risk. Based on this risk, though, I'm still willing to buy your asset at 80% of what you believe it's worth. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to take that risk. This is a bet that I'm willing to make on the market. I get it. It's crazy. It's strange. It very easily, likely will fail, but I'll still buy your asset for 80% of value. That's what I would do. BF, hey, how are you, sir? Matt, serious question. I can't get any insurance company to get a commercial liability umbrella policy from they have all 5 unit maximum per policy. Can you suggest an agent or insurance companies? So State Farm, I don't know if they've changed anything since the California wildfires. I honestly don't know. But I have an umbrella through them, and it was for more than 5 properties. Or 5 unit maximum. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What's their time frame for the 50 to 80%? Hyder says, yeah, I agree. That's crazy. Question. Do you see increasing cases of tenants coming up with ESA? Yes. Certificates to avoid pet rents, pet deposits, etc. So, I don't know. That sounds like a California law. We can still charge a pet fee. That's nothing that's been stopped in our state that I know of. So don't quote me on it. You might want to check up before you do it, but we can still charge a pet fee. I don't want to charge a pet deposit because I got to give it back. I'd rather just have the pet fee. I'd rather just have it be $25 a month or $50 a month and just have it accrue. Yep. That's what I'd rather. Lars Nielsen. Well said. At worst, 25% over 5 years in the worst part of the U.S., and they were trying to compare the U.S. housing market to Canada. What an idiot. That person is an idiot. And the reason why is, Lars, I will share with the entire group, the reason why you're an idiot if you compare the U.S. housing market to the Canadian housing market is that Canada doesn't have 30-year fixed rate debt. They don't have it. It doesn't exist. There are 3, maybe 4 banks in all of Canada that do mortgages. That's it. You can get 97,000 different banks that do mortgages in the U.S. In Canada, it's 4. Number 1. Number 2, they do variable rate debt. That's why all their properties went from $600,000 to $1.2 million is because they brought their rates from 6 down to 1. So people were getting 1 and 1.5% mortgages. Now, here's the thing. You're going gangbusters and you're like, this is absolutely awesome. A 1.5% mortgage. I can't imagine. It's unbelievable. Then what happens? 3-year reset, 5-year reset. It resets to 7. And you're like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Guess what you're going to do? You're going to have to sell your house. But you and 100 of your closest friends are also selling their house. So you end up having not a 15% of DTI, 15% debt to income ratio on your house. You end up having a 65% debt to income on your property. Congratulations. Welcome to non-30-year fixed rate debt. Now, I've also got more news for you. Australia does exactly the same thing. Almost positive, like 97% there. So because they do almost exactly the same thing, yeah, they're going to have a little bit of a problem. And that's why Trudy decided to go running into the forest and throw some maple syrup on himself and roll around in some, bear fur. Because he's going to get ragged and tagged as the moron that allowed this to happen, and people are going to lose their homes. Right now, it's extend and pretend, and they're kicking stuff down the road, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we only raise it a little bit. Maybe we only make a little bit of a rate mod. Here's the problem. Eventually, that Pied Piper is going to come home, and it is going to be a snapping the glove moment. Pucker up, buttercups. Anyway. Yeah, I'm crazy. Well done, Journey. Wow, Jennifer and her team sound amazing. They are. They're fantastic. They're amazing. And Sophie was the one who introduced me. She was absolutely awesome. Hello, Chester sounds like how she looks. Dear God. Yes, Jen is very beautiful. Yep, she is. You know what's really funny? I meet beautiful women all the time. Couldn't care less. I mean, my wife is super hot. But on top of that, or aside from that, what keeps my attention with Jen is that she's actually really good at what she does. If I had gotten 0 leads or 10 out of the program that I picked, I would not have talked to her ever again. We're very utilitarian here. But yeah, she's awesome. She's legit. She's the bee's knees. She's the cat's meow. BF Niter, I need either an agent that I can call or the insurance company. I don't care. I just need an umbrella policy. State Farm. State Farm. Yep. Wellwood Rentals. Hi, Matt and all. Hi, Wellwood Rentals. Good to see you. Jack Stewart. All nighter. I'd have to reserve visibility for once I see the VA interview with Matt has with Jen, but her service sounds really cool. It's very cool and it's very inexpensive for what it is. It's just cheap. I've talked to some other companies. I've talked to some other people that have used some other companies. They can get pretty big bills, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month. Almost no company believes in their service so much that they'll let you sign up for a few $100 and take it for a spin for a couple of months. I believe that you need to go 90 days. I believe that you need to go, even if you go with their smallest plan, I think you need to go 90 days to really see if it's working for you. And I think you'll be surprised. I think it'll work for you. Just so you guys know too, no commission for me in this. I told Jen, I said, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. I want to bring great people in front of you guys. So I get nothing financially from Jen for bringing this in front of you guys. It's truthfully a service that I use, created 80 leads. I want to share that with you. Let's see. Question. Exclusive. Love the name. Question, Matt. What do you think are the best ways to protect the title of properties owned outright from title theft? I don't like to own properties outright from, so I'm not really concerned about that. I know that there's been a lot of scandals about that stuff. I haven't done that with, I have the bank there. I have the bank there. When I pay off debt on a property, what do? I lever it back up with debt. Why do I do that? For just such a reason, for just such a reason. If the bank gets involved, good luck to these other people. Like they're going to face criminal charges. So currently it's not something I have to worry about because I put, bank debt on my assets. Fair enough. My insurance broker asked me. No, I still don't answer. They asked you what? On the Keene home, do you rent to any college students? Yeah, my answer. The insurance broker asked you that? I wouldn't answer. I'd be like, what does that matter? If I say yes, are you going to discriminate? That's what I would say. I would put it right back on them on discrimination. We like to use that word a lot here in America. However, that specifically is a case. So you're basing what somebody does as the basis for denial of coverage. That's interesting. Love to see how that'll go for you. I don't see that going well. Well, rentals, what would you do? Okay. If you have a plumber who is going to do a job, start a permit, do labor and material, would you pay him 15 to 20% up front, i.e. before he pulls my permit? My idea is to pay him after that. I would give, I want to see the permit pulled and I want a receipt for materials that were ordered. That's what I would do. Yep. I mean, in all honesty, I'd buy the materials myself. But if it were like we were doing a bunch of heating systems and so he had a deal through his rep and it was like 6 or 8 mini splits or something like that. And he's like, hey, yep, here's the quote. This is what I got from him. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I didn't pay him all of it, but I paid him a nice big chunk. I want to say $30,000 maybe on a $50,000 purchase order. So he was still 20 out. And then it was like, as soon as you hit rough, I'll pay you the other 20. So then you're 100%, out of risk. And then I'll pay the rest when we finish. So that goes deal to deal. Robert Finelli, insurance broker on the Keene home. Oh yeah. I already read that. Joshua Melby, good to see you, sir. How do you and Ash determine how much to tithe donate off your rental income? Very smart. We do off my W-2 now, but want to start setting ourselves up as we grow and hopefully eventually live off rentals. Yes, totally understand. The challenge that you have in tithing off of the gross as a landlord. And this is something, in all honesty, I believe each individual should pray about and see what's really moved on their heart of what they should do. So the way that I view it is when I was a W-2 employee, I tithed off the gross. Yep. When I was a W-2 employee, tithed off the gross. And then we would give money on top of that. And when, with the rental properties, we never made any money. It was always, the money was always taken back and recycled in and taken back and recycled in. So it was never any net there to pull off of. Now that there is net, I think in that particular business at this point, you're running a company. And so it's not the gross number that comes in. But it can be so it kind of has to be the net profit at that point. Because if you tithed off the gross, you likely wouldn't have any profit left in all likelihood. So yeah, so we work off of the gross when it was a W-2 and the net with it being a business. Although if you tithe off the gross and it's your business, I would only imagine if you believed in biblical principle of sowing and reaping, you'll probably have one of the biggest businesses in the country within 10 years. But that's a side point. Robert Farnelli, me. I'm currently do not rent to students. However, that door is always open. If we just want to say yes, or there are no problems later, then let's go with that. Yeah. Then he got you. Neither Vermont nor Andrew will write that type of risk. Yeah. I don't know what broker asked you that, but that's not a question that they can ask. You can say, I don't know. There's no tenants in there currently. We're interviewing tenants now as we speak. And they can't say no to that. They can't. That's absolutely 1000%. That is discrimination. Yeah. I would send what I said the first time. I'll add Bob's info, but I don't know whether or not he's taking on new clients right now. Yeah, I'm not sure that he is. Don't know, honestly. SK, hey SK. On the day I closed on the property purchase, City posted a stop work notice on the front two doors after I had closed. There's lots of unpermitted structures in it. Can I hold seller liable for anything? Yes. Well, you can have the conversation with them. You can basically, what I do is I actually draft them a letter. And then if that letter doesn't get a response, then I draft them another letter. However, this is part of your due diligence. When you're doing due diligence, you should be going down to the town and you should be looking to see if there's any work that's been permitted. And if you're seeing work that's been done, it should have been permitted. Now, if they put on their multifamily rider disclosures that all work has been permitted, there's actually a place on there in New Hampshire. I don't know about your state, but there's a place in there where it actually says, has all the work been permitted, or are there any unpermitted structures or any unpermitted work? I would be looking at that on their multifamily rider, on their disclosures, to see if that's the case, because then I would be having a field day with them. Yep. Is Vermont or Andover insuring your student rentals? I would never say. Neither of them know, because it's none of their business who my tenants are. Nope. None of their business. Don't tell them. I don't tell them anything. I've never been asked who the tenant is, ever. And if I ever got asked, I would say it's immaterial. I have no idea. No idea who the tenant is. I don't get that deep into it. I review them from a financial perspective, not what they do for a living. Wealth Rentals. Hey, thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate that. A star. I like that star. Wandering Doc, what's up, my friend? How you doing, pal? Traveling the world, being amazing. Love it. Dennis, man, wish we could get a notification set up for these. You can hit the ringing bell. If you look at my channel and you're on my channel, there's actually a little ringing bell right there. You can hit that ringing bell and it will notify you every single time I go live. Now, the good news is just act with faith and anticipation and show up for 9:00 Eastern time on Thursdays. I don't often set up beforehand because I don't want to waste your guys' time and do an event that I then have to cancel. But I think in the last 3 years, I think I missed two of these. That's it. Don't miss them. Guess I was one of the 1% that reached out to Jen. Good for you. Sorry, starting from the beginning because I didn't get a notification you were live. All good, Dennis the Menace. That's good. I love the fact that you reach out to her. You were absolutely part of the 1%. I want you guys to be really successful. I'm not saying you have to buy her service. I'm just saying have the conversation. Let her talk to you about it. If it doesn't fit, fine. If what you're doing is, and you're finding deals left and right that are really good, where you have no competition, do what you're doing. She's not going to make that any better. If you find that every deal you get into, you have competition, it's on MLS, you're having to, make the highest and best offer, you're having to overpay, you're lowballing and they just laugh because there's 17 other offers. I did a deal. I was helping somebody on a deal this week. They said, hey, we're going to go at X number. I think they said they were going to go in at 150. And I said, this property's for sale for 199 and it's going to be off market by Sunday. I said, and he's like, really? I said, yep, it's going to be off market Sunday and it's going to go for full list price, guaranteed. I got the text message on Sunday. It's under agreement for full list price. Way it goes. Yeah, it sucks, but way it goes. Well, the rentals, does the neighborhood sewer pond smell at the summer? Does that neighborhood sewer pond smell at summer or anytime? It could. If it's really shallow and it gets really hot, like the biggest thing is mosquitoes. Like you'll get these massive swarms of mosquitoes. Also, can you fix anything with bad water supply? Yeah, you can. It depends on what it is. So, a lot of times for us on wells, or on something that has ancient plumbing that we know nothing's been updated forever, we'll actually get a water sample. It's about $180. We actually do it ourselves. We don't have the home inspector do it because they tack on like $250. It's a joke. So we get the water sample ourselves. We actually then go out to the site. We drop it off. Then we get their report back. That's actually something that we'll use during negotiation. If it comes back and it's like, hey, there's arsenic in there. There's this. I've bought a house that had arsenic in it. Had arsenic and had one other thing. Chrome, I think, was in there. Chromium, maybe something like that. And so it was, and these are really, really bad things. They'll make you really, really sick. Now we were able to do a couple things. We were able to get a company in there. We were able to treat the well. We were able to run thousands of gallons of water and then retest it. We retested it and we were able to get rid of all the deadly stuff, but we still had some other stuff that like made the water not taste amazing. So then we actually put a water softener system in, and that was like $3,000 or $4,000. But we put that system in, and then that water, because it was a 500-foot well, came up ice cold, and it was so stinking good. It was so good. At the house I'm at now, I have a 300-foot well. It's nice and it's a little bit cold, but man, 500 feet, that stuff was literally coming up. Watch it pouring out of the faucet. And you're just like, man, that's going to be so good. Oh, it's going to be so good. SK, my architect has submitted a plan to demo unpermitted structures and minor remodel. City is taking time to review and comment. Do I have to wait for a month till the city gives comments and finally approves? Yep. Unless they say something else, unless they say, yeah, we'll approve this. So the rule is typically you're not supposed to start doing the work until you actually have an approval. And depending on the project that's how I run it. If I'm making some major alterations like that, then yes. Then I wait for the approval. If I'm just doing another rehab that I've done 1,000 times and I'm adding stuff, then if I have the permit in with full disclosure of everything that's in there and the money in there, yes, sometimes I'll start before I should. It's not a good practice, but sometimes I do. Jason Calasavetta, that was a pretty good Chris Farley. Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet, kid. My man. Yeah, Farley. I've watched thousands of hours of his movies. And so, yeah. It gets a little out of hand, but thank you. I appreciate that. All-nighter. Jen's competence and ambition is also very attractive. She seems like a go-giver. She really is. She's awesome. She's absolutely fantastic. That's why we'll get Sophie on here eventually if she can actually ever stop being sick. Because we'll do something with you with her and talking about private lenders and how she meets people up with deals. She is an absolute deal maker and putting people together. It's unreal. Dennis the Menace, are these wholesale opportunities usually for sale by owner, seller financing, much lower price, etc.? All the above, some of the above, trying to wrap my head around it. Dennis, great question. They can be all of the above. They can be none of the above. The beautiful part about this is if you've done your rent box and you understand what your market is, you understand what units rent for, you understand the quality of the unit, you understand the quality of the building, you understand where it's located, you understand all of the 17 criteria in the rent box. If you understand that, excuse me, then you can have the conversation with the homeowner. You're having the conversation with them and saying, so would love to understand, what your thoughts are. And if they're like, well, we bought it for this back this ago and we have this much money for rent and blah, blah, blah. Like you're going to hear their whole diatribe and they just get to talk. And then you just say, Well, great. Yeah. What I'd love to do is I'd love to just set up a time to meet you and come take a look at the property if you're okay with that. And if they say, no, I'd want a number from you now, you say, I would love to. Don't tempt it. Don't do it. Just say, I would love to do that. But it's just, I would really need to see, what I'm looking at. It's kind of like, it's a much bigger investment than buying a car, but I at least test drive cars. Even if I don't bring them to a mechanic, I at least test drive them first. But I would want to get out there and get a look at the property. And then when you look at the property, then you can say, hey, I really appreciate this. And so, wanted to get an understanding of kind of where you wanted to be price wise. And then they'll tell you and fight everything that you have in you to answer back. It's not an answer back. You can say, okay, let me bring what I've seen. Let me bring that back and let me try and work through some of the numbers. In fact, I'm actually doing one today. I actually went and looked at a property today. And I brought my foundation guy with me because I said to the guy, the seller, potential seller, I said, what's the worst part about the house? The one part that you think you're going to struggle with when you try and sell it on the market. And he's like, oh, foundation's pretty rough. I said, okay. I said, would you mind if I came with a foundation guy? That way I can actually not have to estimate. I can get the actual number. He's like, no, that'd be fine. I said, it's not going to be a waste of your time. I said, I'm doing that in order to then give you an offer. So tomorrow I'll make an offer based on what the foundation guy said. Lars Nielsen, Matt, I understand the differences between U.S. and the rest of the English-speaking world housing market. Yep. I just stopped at that point. Had he owned a house in Delaware, Columbus, or Dayton, Ohio, I would have kept conversation going, trying to buy their house. Absolutely. I'm with you. I'll share the video with Jen. Thank you, sir. SK, I can start the demo of unpermitted structures that the city flagged and fix up to bring back to the original permitted configuration, or should I wait a month or two till they give me comments and approve? You might not need to demo them. I don't know that you need to demo them. So if I have a structure that's there that might be unpermitted, but they say, you know what, we'll let you keep it up, but we want to come and inspect it. So we're going to have you rip off a sheet of sheetrock so we can make sure the wall was done properly. Well, if I wanted to keep the wall, then I save myself not only the $500 it takes to demo the thing, but on top of that, I save myself the $1,000 it would take to rebuild it. So I'm not in a huge rush to be like, hey, hurry up, quick, need an answer. I just let them know, hey, time is of the essence. Would love to get this wrapped up sooner than later. But if the architect actually made those plans, sent those across, that's the conversation I would be having. I'm interested in the concept of the architect because I've known architects to be very expensive, especially for small rehab projects. Lars Nielsen, entertainment only goes for so long, then it turns into a waste of time. You're exactly right. That's why people will tell me, oh, you're wasting your time. No, but I'm getting a good laugh out of it. As soon as the guy starts to annoy me, then it's like, okay, I'm not talking anymore. We're done. Jack Stewart, can I use the theology of what you're saying about the insurance company with the gas company? I got a letter the other day asking me what my intention was with the property. Sorry, can I use what you're saying about the insurance for gas? Yes, of course. You can say, I don't understand. The only thing that they can ask you is, so you can say, here's my, so I would say something like, well, we currently have a gas boiler, but we don't plan on adding any additional gas fixtures. Make them correct you and then say, no, what I mean is, and then you answer the same exact way. Think about that person on the phone. They don't give a freaking rip. They're making $23 an hour to answer the phone and talk to people that are pissed off and angry because their bill was so high, their service got shut off, or because they need to get service and they told them it's going to be 3 weeks. They don't care. They don't care. Make them play Ring Around the Rosie for a couple of rounds on the call. Crimson Knight, I think the answer here is find another insurance agent. It very well might be. For sure. Absolutely it would be. Yep. Absolutely it would be. Yeah, and start fresh. And don't answer that question. Sweet Lord. Yeah, still using Archer. Yep, still using those guys. Jack, check out the Ace of Coins link. That's the kind of question John would have fun with. Yes. My answer's better. Just saying. It's an easy answer. It's an easy answer. That will be something you'll see in the sales video. I'll teach you guys how to do some of that stuff. Jack, are they selling you gas or limited gas for only their sanctioned purposes? Exactly. What purposes are sanctioned? When was the list made? How often is the list updated? What is the criteria to be okay? So to that end, obviously before I saw Hyder's response, to that end, it is I'm not answering the question that they're asking. I'm answering the question that I feel like they're asking. Yep. Dividend Dave. Hi, buddy. Big Hill. What's going on? Good to see you. Samuel Agalade. How would you go about finding what duplex rent for an area with a few duplexes? My understanding is you can't use single family home rent prices. Samuel, you're exactly right. By the way, love the name. That's my name, my son. And so love the name. So, and we call him usually Sammy. And so you're exactly right. I wouldn't use single family houses. What I would do is I would look up the last few duplexes that were sold, and I would call the agent and I would ask them. I would also look and see if you find the listings, so you can see the duplexes that have sold. Very often in the multifamily rider, it will show what their rents were. That's a big part of it. I would look on Craigslist. So I typically look at the top 3 places where rents are listed. For me, that's Zillow, Facebook, and Craigslist. So I look at duplex. I look for duplex, or I look for a unit that looks like it's in a duplex. And that's then how I build out my rent box. That's how you find those numbers. You can also look up, depending on your town or county, you can look up the owners of those items. You can reach out to them. That's kind of a last resort. But yeah, agents or Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and Zillow, all of those places, you should be able to find a decent amount of data to be able to gather about what that looks like. Well, for rentals, if you use propane for central heating, I believe that was heating, not hearing. How expensive can that be per month for a 2,000 square foot house? No idea how much propane costs. Propane is usually the most expensive under electric. So it's usually, it depends on the insulation of the house. It depends on all of these, do people keep it at 73 or 63? There's too many variables there. So the way that I would think of it is propane, a propane house usually costs of the equal house about 10 to 15% more. That's a good way to use it. Big Hill in Southern California, 2,000 square foot house to heat on LP costs about $600 every 2 months in the winter. All gas appliances too. Yep. At $4 a gallon. Yep. So that's helpful. But yeah, there's too many variabilities there. You can have, we have one building that are 4-bedroom, 2-bath townhomes that I paid $27,000 at the time. Now it would be like a $90,000 project. I did closed cell foam throughout the entire house. I can tell you that their heating bill during the wintertime is about $1,000. Those things are about 1,700 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet. And they run, about $1,000, a little bit over. I can tell you that I have a unit that is 1,100 square feet, does not have closed cell foam, and it is probably about $2,000 a winter. People love to keep the heat on there. But we use 70-degree limited thermostats, so they can't actually get it. They can't actually turn the thing above 70 because they're extra cold, or because they think turning it up to 78 is like pressing an accelerator. It's not. It's just what temperature it will get to. Bill O'Connell, good to see you, sir. Robert Farinelli, foundation question. I saw a property that is small, about a brick or about a brick or stone mortar, built in the 1890s. Brick is bowing outward. How much of a problem is that to fix? Can you put up steel beams? So yeah, usually it doesn't even have to be steel. You can jack up that side of the wall just so you have, and I would do it, having 2 ends that are a little bit proud of each other, but I'm getting that thing up in the air. It doesn't have to be a bunch. And then I'm getting the wall repaired. And again, that just comes down to, usually it's 3 layers of brick. And so depending on how bad it is, depending on how bad the bow is, they might say your best bet is to do concrete block. That might be your best bet. It might still be to replace brick. Could be any number of things. But yeah, you can replace it that way. But the best way is to get it up off that sill, because if it's really bowed, then now you're talking about like either pushing this way or pushing this way. Is this a $30,000 excavation fix? No, it is not. It's probably more like 10 to 12. Probably more like 10 to 12. Yep. Brick Apron, I think it's called. Yep, can be. Jeffrey White, what's up, pal? How you doing, buddy? Jeffrey White. I know Jeffrey White reached out to Jennifer. He's trying to find his 9th house hack so he can tie the Lumberjacks record. I fully support it. Well done. Kim Bishop, going to have to catch the rest of this in Futureland. Good night, friend. Good night. Good to see you, buddy. And that's the end of the questions. You guys have a few more minutes to throw some questions in there. I had a long day. I was taking care of my 1-year-old daughter who was sick. She's so sick, and she's cute, but she's sick. She's like just if you've seen the movie The Incredibles, super red face, like little Jack. Yeah, super red face. And then my number 3, Aliana, she was sick as well. So I'm making it a purpose to be in my bed tonight early and sleep as long as I can. Can you tell how tired I am? Man, even with them being tired, it's a lot. Yeah. Crimson Knight still had a $270 heat bill with a locked at 70 thermostat. Must be the old furnace. Yeah, it could be the old furnace. Obviously, like an older steam system, you could be 71, 73% efficiency. If it's an old forced hot water boiler, you could be at 78 to 82. When you're talking in like a new one, you're at like 95 or 96. It's crazy. The numbers get nuts. Yawns are contagious. Yeah, no kidding. What's better yet is I'm happy to pass you a yawn. I don't want to give you whatever bubonic plague has been going around my house. And we had when is the next boot camp? Ooh, that's a good question. I'm actually going to tell you because I do have an answer for you. I do know exactly when it's going to be. I'm going to answer these questions. I finished the course. When is the next boot camp? Hey, Jim. Jim, how was the course? How was it? Wealth Rentals. Do you own a house in a neighborhood that use a private company for water and sewer? No. So it is not city or septic. No. Yep. What do you think of that? The company happens to have very bad reviews. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Everybody probably hates them. Not surprised. SK, Matt, have unpermitted ADU. It's an ADU. Okay. All right. Is nice. However, city flagged, being in a flood zone needs entire ADU elevated, meaning destroy. No. You do not need just no. Nope. Sorry, don't. So here's what you need to make sure you do. You need to talk to a building mover. You can look them up, Google them, building mover near me. They will come and they will look at the property and they will figure out what it takes to get it whatever height level you need it. Maybe it's 3 feet, maybe it's 6 feet, maybe it's 9 feet, and they will build a post and crib underneath it. That's what you then have that plan. So you have the architect draw that up, then you send that to the city. And you have somebody that says, yeah, I have experience. Like I teach you in the course of how to interview contractors. Do not tear that thing down just because you need it 9 feet in the air. Absolutely not. You can absolutely maintain all of that value and just get somebody to lift it up, crib it, and then build a support structure underneath it. You absolutely can do that. Yep. There's no doubt in my mind. Jim Van Tassel. Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Jim. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Jeffrey White, of course, house hack number 9 coming soon. Looking at some fourplexes here that have boilers, and I don't have any properties with them. What's the difference with maintenance, those versus forced air furnaces? So boilers, usually they're oil. They need to be cleaned every single year without exception. Usually their life expectancy, depending on the brand, is between 20 and 40 years if they've been well maintained. You'll want to hire somebody when you go to potentially buy it. You want to hire an inspector to basically look at everything, take it all apart, look at the what's called the oil burner. You'll also want to look at the what's called the combustion chamber, which is where the combustion happens, where it then heats up the different elements in the chamber. So not crazy different. Oil still needs to be cleaned once a year. And then the rest of it, I would just pay to have What I would likely do is pay to have somebody come and inspect it / clean it, because you can ask them, what's the difference between you cleaning it and inspecting it? And if they say, well, I can inspect the thing in about 15, 20 minutes, or I can clean the thing and it costs you a couple of hours, that's something that you can then consider. Because for me, they usually charge you the hour minimum to come out. I just pay the extra. If I'm really serious about the house, I just pay the extra half hour and have them clean it. Then I know we're good. And then if they clean it, they're like, ooh, yeah, in cleaning this, I saw that this piece is cracked. If they're just reviewing it, then they're looking to see if there's anything like that. They might not find it. If they're cleaning it and they're actually being thorough and detailed in their cleaning, you're more likely to uncover an issue. And again, it's just like a sewer pipe. It's a good way to find out. Let's see. Jim Van Tassel, I love systems. I'm glad. I've got more system coming for you guys. We've got the lead course that is just, oh, it's so much. It's so much. It's so much. But it's going to be awesome for you. And then we've got all of the videos ready to be uploaded into, I didn't do it this week because all the kids got sick. But I have it ready to do next week. How much does it cost to get rid of propane for electric? You're different. Propane is going to be forced hot water. Electric is going to be a completely separate thing. You're going to have to wire for it and everything else. It's not crazy expensive, but I wouldn't recommend it. Electric heat is very expensive. Very expensive. We have some units that have $400 heat bills in the wintertime with electric heat. I don't love it. Have to update my RRP next month. Nice. Very cool. Lots of no's. Yes. Yeah. We don't knock down ADUs. Yeah. The existing foundation of the ADU is lower than what's needed in a flood zone. Contractor tells me it's super expensive to lift. No, he's not. He's wrong. He just hasn't done it. Architect says build time, buy time, negotiate with city. No, I just call, I would call a bunch of these different building companies and say, what would it take to lift that thing up and crib underneath? And they might say, well, we'll lift it up, but we won't crib underneath. I'm telling you, I've had houses lifted before. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I've had houses lifted before. You know how much it cost me to lift up a house before? It cost me $12,000. You're trying to tell me that you're going to build an ADU for less than 12 G's? No way. No way. It's going to cost you 100, I would bet. Easy. 80 if you're good like that ADU guy. Maybe. But yeah, 10, 12 grand, right up straight in the air, crib underneath, get it to the height you want, and you're good. Can I have tenants living in the rental property while we do the needful to satisfy the permit in the property? Depends on what it is. That's a question that is really more municipality driven, so you need to ask them. You can't do it when you're lifting it up, but once it's got its crib underneath it, which again, lifting and getting a crib underneath something is a week's worth of work. It's not months and months and months. It's a week's. Kadia, I thought you wrote something up here. Yes, you did. I didn't want to miss you. Been a while since I've been able to tune in. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for doing this weekly. My pleasure. Not sure if you have addressed this. How are you feeling about the risk of Section 8 being cut back? I will buy anyone's property at 80% the current value if it's Section 8, because I'm willing to take that risk. That's how I'm answering it. No joke. That's literally how I'm answering it. He was president before, guys. He didn't cut back Section 8. Not a dime. Not a dime. Didn't happen. Jeffrey White. Awesome. Thanks, Lumberjack. You're welcome, Jeff. Can I have tenants? Nope, we already talked about that. Kadia, if you had to cut scope for a full roof replacement, would you cut replacing gutters? SK, I will answer that question in just a second. Would you cut replacing gutters of the main house or replacing the roof for its detached garage? I'm concerned about insurance and future costs. If you had to cut scope for a full roof replacement, would you cut replacing gutters off the main house? Oh, good question. I would probably, I would talk to the roofer and I would talk to the gutter person and see which one I get hit for more. Like the roofer, when he shows up, he's going to want to do everything, right? And so then how long is it before you can get to the gutters? The other thing too is that gutters, a lot of times you can actually get somebody with a gutter or whatever. If you really can't afford it, you can make payments on gutters. Roofs, that's a tough story. All right. Next boot camp. Every often anticipated, never duplicated. Why everyone hate the private water sewer company and why can't the company be good? Because they don't have to be good. They have a monopoly. They don't care. So we have one that's not like a private one. It's like known as the towns, but it's not the towns, but it's also not water septic. And I don't really feel it fits into your category, but it might, but they're awful. They screw up billing. They threaten to shut water off. And I go, guys, I dare you. I dare you. I have a lot more attorneys than you do. I dare you. I would not do that. You have no right to do it. So yeah. Yep. True story. Yep. All-nighter. Yep. I agree. All right. Next boot camp. Next boot camp is going to be, drum roll, please. It is going to be nope. February 8th. February 8th is when we start. So the way that this is going to go is we have because we just picked that date today. We have 12 people. We're going to go 18 spots. We have 12 people, so we have 6 spots in this boot camp left. So we have 6 spots in the boot camp left. Now, that's not to say that somebody might not back out of just because they have a spot. But what we do is we actually will put into Mighty Networks, we'll actually put a poll and we list 4 dates or 4 times during the week that we would do the boot camp. And then everybody gets to vote first, second, third, fourth. And then we pick the one that has the most. Robert Farinelli would love to have you back. Would love to have you back. This is Robert's 3rd boot camp. Excited to have you back. Let's see. It depends on condition. That's what. Yep. Is the tenant, if the tenant breaks a lease before a 1-year period ends, do you not return the security deposit? So, 4th. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert. That's right. You've done all 4, except for the one that was running the same time. So 13 people. Love that. Just with the security deposit question. So the way that the security deposit question works is any balance that they owe when they leave, the security deposit can be used to pay those items back. For me, I've never gone after people for multiple months. It's been a very rare situation where I've said, hey, you can leave now, but you got to keep on paying. And if you don't paying, then I just file eviction for you and, is what it is. So that's one of the things that can be done. So, yes. So boot camp starts the 8th. I'm then speaking at on the 15th and the 16th, at the One Rental at a Time event. And then we pick it up where we left off on the 22nd. And then we go, February, March, April. We're done in April. And that will be my last boot camp until at the very soonest, September. At the very soonest. That will be my next one at the soonest. Excuse me. Ooh. Still recovering. Month later. Kadia. Oh, I was bidding out the roofers and the gutter. I was bidding and the gutters to the roofers. Yeah. Look at gutter companies. Don't look at roofing companies. Look at gutter companies because gutter companies usually have the machines, and roofing companies that show up with a crew, they can bang out a roof, and then you get a gutter company in there. So I would do it separately. Yep, I would bid it separately. Yep. The roofers have been saying the gutters are in rough shape. If I don't do the garage, insurance may suffer. I would have gutter companies out there. Again, I hire best of breed. I hire roofers to do roofing work. I hire siders to do siding work. Sometimes those guys are the same, but I hire, gutter people to do gutter stuff. I hire excavators to dig up a water line like I had to do this week. And I'll share that story with you next week. Let's see. You may have already answered this. Patrick Carnery. Hi, Patrick. Good to have you. You may have already answered this already. How do you hold your properties? LLC with a trust or something else? Just a trust. No LLC. Just a pure trust. Wealth of Rentals. Play Monopoly. I do play Monopoly. I love Monopoly. Monopoly is my favorite. We're actually playing the cash flow money game. My son's a little bit too young, but we're actually doing chess. So I'm teaching him chess. All right. Let's see. You're welcome, Kadia. I'd be wary of roofers fishing for extra work. Agreed. Yep. Maybe get a separate inspection for the gutters. Totally agree. Jim Van Tessel. What time are the boot camps usually? Usually we do 8 p.m. on Saturday nights. Usually that's a winning slot. We've done 8 p.m. on Sunday nights. We've never done one during the week because it never wins in the voting. But yes, it's 8 p.m. But it also gets you access to the recording. So if for some reason you need to miss one for this or the other reason, you're good. Wealth of Rentals. Those are mighty purple fingers. There is a reason I have taken the boot camp 4 times. Lots of value and something new every time. That's true. I appreciate you saying that, Robert, but it is really true. Guys, to give you an idea, for those of you who haven't been in there before, here's the format of the boot camp. When we do a week 1 as an example, we introduce each other to each other, to ourselves to each other, better said. And after we do that, we talk about what the lesson was for that week. Well, Robert has already taken the boot camp 4 times and the course 2 or 3 times. Wealth with Rentals. Chester, he's taken the course 5 times and the boot camp once or twice. So what we do is we spend some time on the actual course, but then what's the most important thing that you need to get out of the boot camp? Here it is. It's about you. It's not about me. It's about you. We spend it just like this, except we're face-to-face we are face-to-face on a Zoom call. And we're usually going for at least 2 hours, if not 3 or 4. I got to cut down the 4-hour sessions, but like 2 to 3 hours. And we're just talking about deals that you're working on, problem that you're having, house that you're reviewing. We do it all. So really it's about 20 minutes, 30 minutes of talking about the course review. Usually 20 minutes talking about the course review, making sure you're handling any questions or concerns that you have about that. And then the rest of the 80% of the time, we're talking about real world applicable where you're at. That's what I care the most about. As you guys know, I have the availability for you guys to book my time, 3 hours for $1,000. I don't like selling personal coaching. In all honesty, I'll do it if you really need me to, but I really don't love that. What I really love is value. Value is 15 or 18 people in a room, all learning from each other, and me being able to help you guys and actually do it with just answering questions, because your questions are very important to you. But believe it or not, they're important to everybody else in the room too. Everybody else is learning. The cool thing is it has exactly the same result. It has exactly the same result that you would expect out of a military boot camp. I want you guys forming bonds. I want you forming relationships. I want you to be rooting for each other. I want you to better understand how each other is doing their businesses. That will make you better. And I can tell you, there's a Lumberjack Landlord alumni group that meets on Tuesday nights. I believe it's every other week. Robert Farrelli's in that. Ned Talks is in that. Ready On is in that. There's a bunch of people that attend that. That's something that's absolutely free. I don't participate. I'm going to try and be starting to drop in when my schedule clears up from getting these couple of massive projects done. Not the project house. Excuse me. Not the project house, but the 2 big ones, the jail and the 5 unit. So I'll be doing more of that. So there are lots of opportunities, like I said, to engage with other folks, but there's also a whole nother world. If you're already in the course, then Mighty Networks is there and everybody can answer each other's stuff. But there's in the boot camp, it's completely separate. You guys have access to that. So you can speak very candidly. The only people that hear it are the other 15 or 18 people in the room. That's it. You can speak very candidly. And that's what I really love about those boot camp sessions is if you're really struggling with something, you can bring it to the group and I will be more than happy to answer you and I'll tell you exactly the way it is. So that's what I love about the boot camp. I think they're hugely, hugely valuable. And that's why, quite frankly, they fill up. That's why Robert's taken it 4 times. Chris Culp has taken it 3 times. There's a bunch of people that have taken it 3 or 4 more times. More than 3 hours of questions from the 12 sessions. Yes, that's true. More than 3 hours of questions for you or for, I know that when we looked at it for the 12-week period, it was like 39 additional hours of teaching. It was 39 hours. It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. Next boot camp sign up. It's available now. If you sign up now, you get first dibs in getting into it, Chris. Available there on the site. If you've already taken the course, you can buy the boot camp again. If you haven't taken the course, you have to take the course before we let you in the boot camp. There's a reason for that. All of these other guys, they speak the language. We want to make sure that if you go through the course, even if you're just going week by week, we've had many people buy the course, take the first course lesson, and then do the first boot camp, and then take the second course lesson, and then take the second boot camp. That absolutely happens. 3 hours of questions. If you have, then some people are more quiet than others. Yeah, exactly. Yep. But I'm there for you. I want to be, I won't say it's a mentorship because it really isn't. What it really is it's a lumberjack in your pocket. Help, let me get out of your pocket. But it's a lumberjack in your pocket. For 12 weeks, you're going to create relationships with other investors. You're going to learn where they invest, learn how they invest, learn some of the things that have worked really well for them and things that haven't. And like I said, there's no doubt in my mind, tremendous value. I've never had anybody, you guys see how many, Chris has been there 3 or 4 times. Robert's been in there 4 times. Many people have taken that thing 2 or 3 times. What we are likely going to do is we're going to have to let some people not take it a 4th time. We'll let it happen now, but that's something that we're going to have to think about for the springtime because I know that we have a number of people that want to get in and I will limit it to only 15 to 18 people. It cannot be more than that. It can't be. And the reason why that it can't be is very simple. I am attentive. I want to make sure I'm impacting every single person in that class. And if that class were 30, 40, or 50 people, it would be really hard. Yep. Let's see. I play for high stakes for chess, usually pumpkin pie. Ooh, I like that. That's nice. I'm so rusty. It's not even funny. I signed up for it with the course. Do I need to do anything else? You don't, Jim. You're good. You're good. What we're going to do is you will see an email sometime this week with Boot Camp 5 being Boot Camp 5 area being done. And then you guys will be getting invites and you'll be able to, you'll get invited to the poll, voting on what day it should happen. And you don't lose your boot camp pass if you don't attend this one. You just go to the next one. That's simple. And then you get priority choice on the next one. Lars Nielsen, Utah hockey team not getting the Yeti or Yeti's name sucks. Now it will be the Outlaws or Mammoth. Interesting. I don't think of Utah as being the Outlaws. I thought Yeti was the winning name too. Mammoth, I don't like that much. I thought Yeti was the winner. I agree with you. BuzzTune, seeing your A team was a revelation to me. Lender, roofer, trust attorney, boot camp is such a valuable experience for someone new like me. Thanks, BuzzTune. I appreciate that. So what BuzzTune's speaking to is, we had my trust attorney in there. We had my roofer in there. We had a lender in there. And we're happy to bring other superstars into the role. We actually had Jen in there first, and she was in there a month or 6 weeks ahead of doing the video on the channel. Because I wasn't sure if I was going to bring her to the channel or not. But yeah, huge value. Do you do any flips when you started out just house hacks? I did some flips. Yep. I do some flips. Yeah. In fact, Jim, I'm doing a flip right now. You can see it on the channel. I've only got 5 or 6 videos on there, but it's live and you can see it on there. It was something that, I've got about 14 and a half hours into a flip that I'm doing right now. And I'm showing you guys that I can do it in less than 20 hours, an entire flip, start to finish, less than 20 hours. Kadia, is that weekly? Yep. Weekly. Or also for those who have only taken the course. So you have to buy the boot camp. It is weekly and it's weekly for 12 weeks straight. If you miss a class, not a big deal. You can watch the replay. It's now we have a process for that stuff that's going to be uploaded in. And so you can watch the replay when you're done. Or if you miss a class as an example and you see all the questions, you get to watch everything. Yep. Dennis Jimenez. Damn. Thanks, Matt, for the rundown on the boot camp for us newbies. Dennis, you're more than welcome. Guys, I'm thrilled. You guys know I love the boot camp. I love the boot camp. I know that I always get asked how much longer I'm going to do them. I really don't know because it is 12 weeks. It is 40 hours. And when I finish there, I feel like I've given you guys everything. I literally go upstairs and my adrenaline's pumping so fast because I had so much fun that I usually have trouble going to sleep, and then I'm exhausted the next day. So my wife knows exactly what to expect from me. Matt, they aren't getting the name because the U.S. Trademark Office. What is? Bring it to Trumpy. Bring it to Trump. He wouldn't allow such a silly thing. Yeah, that's absurd. That's dumb. But yeah, we can talk about, that's the other thing too, is as you're in there. So SK as an example, if you were in there, as you're coming up with issues with your ADU, with, potentially the building or the lifting or the whatever, we actually have people bring quotes and we go through the quote and I help them with the quote and I go, nope, ask questions about this line, ask questions about this line. Or if they say, yeah, this is what we're recommending, then we actually formulate 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 questions that you can then bring back to that contractor to get a real answer. Guys, it's literally like a lumberjack in your pocket. It literally is, because we can go through all of that stuff. Robert Farinelli did it with an off-market deal that he was working on. We talked about the deal. We talked about the zoning. We talked about getting approvals. We talked about the sharing back and forth of the P&S. We talked about everything, insurance. We talked about the entire deal over like a 12-week period. And now he's getting the deal and he's going in there eyes wide open in the best position he can, because every single week that was something we talked about as a group and shared. So yeah, it was very awesome. So guys, that makes it 10:30 tonight. I am tapped. My throat is a little bit sore. And I got to wake up and take care of 2 of my sick kiddos tomorrow. So I hope you guys have an absolutely amazing day. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I'd love to see you guys in the boot camp again. As I said, it'll fill up fast. It always does every single time. So if it's something that you want to do, hop out there on the site, find it, look it up, purchase it. We'd love to have you. Dennis, excited to have you in the boot camp with us. Guys, it's an amazing time. I honestly would have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars had there been a boot camp that I could have attended before I started investing. We have new investors. We have investors that have been doing it for 15 years or 20 years. In fact, we had maybe I think 2 boot camps ago, we had somebody that had been a landlord for 32 years in there. And they're like, hey, I watch your channel. I know there's other stuff I can learn. So yeah, would love to do that with you guys. Hope the kiddos feel better. Thank you so much, Big Hill. I appreciate that. Hope y'all feel better soon. Yeah, me too. It's like honest to God here, but it's just like this pattern because they keep on going back to school, my little petri dishes. Patrick Connery, great. Great. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Jim, same. Hyder, thanks again. Dennis, you as well. Big Hill, great. Wealthwood Rentals, great session as always. Thank you. SK, thank you for that. Love to see you in the next boot camp too and talk about that ADU. Do not knock that thing down. There's way too much value there to knock down. Way too much value. I think we can help you find a way around it. Smoke the like button, like Cheech and Chong. Thank you, sir. Wealth building journey. Thank you, Matt. You're welcome, Chester. Always a pleasure to have you, sir. Kadia, thank you. I aim to complete the course next month and help finish setting up my systems. Thanks, Kadia. You're very welcome. Samuel, have a good night. Hope I can sign up for the boot camp tomorrow. Love to have you, Samuel. Would love to have you, guys. Really appreciate you. Always a great time. Keep on pushing, man. If you haven't watched the Jennifer Stewart video, please watch it. I'm telling you, this 4-part Elite series this year to kick us off is to make sure we put you in the best position that we can. Lars, look forward to seeing you in Vegas. Guys, if you haven't gotten your Vegas tickets, there's not many left. I think there's like only 18 tickets left. So if you're not going to Vegas and you need to get tickets, there's only 18 left. Please make sure you get them. I'm available. I'm there the whole weekend. I want to spend time with each and every one of you. I want to have conversations with each and every one of you. I love the event. I literally do it for free. I literally do it all at my own expense. I fly myself out there. I pay for my hotel. I pay for my food. I get paid nothing to do it. I do it literally just because I like spending time with you guys. So Tickets are turned off tomorrow. Oh man, yeah, you guys, yeah, get your tickets. Like I said, it'll be well worth it. And then the boot camp, we go until we have 18 head count. That's when we go until. And so the next time you'll get an update will be next Thursday. And again, next Thursday is 3 days away from when it starts. So guys, have an amazing evening. Thanks for spending time with me. Always a blast. Everybody that's out there that's not feeling so well, feel better, guys. Feel better. Appreciate y'all. Take care. Bye, guys.